Courtney. Welcome to Thursday Thrive. This is a series featuring people who have overcome adversity. If you want to know more about what it means to thrive or to see more stories, then check us out at edmondco.co. I hope you enjoy this story.
I'm Heather, and this is my story. I think I had a really good childhood. And, for a long time it was just me and Amanda. And we had really big imaginations. But I was always really shy. So being in that imaginative world was always awesome to me. And I liked being there with my friends and my sister. So growing up as in getting older was hard for me. But as far as family life, for a long time it was really good, I always felt like. But since I had such a big imagination, school and stuff was really hard for me. And because I was so shy, that was always really hard for me too. I never had trouble making friends, but I was such an introvert that just made it hard. So I remember when I was homeschooled, 6th and 7th grade, it was kind of lonely, even though we were in a Christian homeschool group or whatever. But I remember that's kind of the first time I started feeling lonely. And being that age, I started having changes with my body, hormones and everything, preteen. And and my sister was homeschooled for 1 year and then started going to another school. And I just felt really alone. And it was just around that time where you're kind of getting too old for your Barbies and your toys and stuff like that. And my sister and I kind of started growing apart and started growing apart from other friends, and friends started moving away. It was really hard. So I remember that's probably the first time I ever felt really alone. And then 7th grade feeling greasy and gross and just I don't know. That's when I started not really liking myself. And so I begged my parents to put me in the school that my sister was going to. And because I felt like I wanted to be around other kids more, and more kids that I clicked with. And so finally 8th grade they put me into this school that my sister was going to, and I remember it was the worst feeling to be put into a new school and all these new people. And since it was a private school, it was K through 12, and all the kids had grown up together since pre-K, so I just felt really out of place, and I was really shy, and there weren't too many other kids that were super shy like I was, so it was just really weird. And so I remember when I was around 14, being hormonal and going through the womanly bodily changes and developing breasts and everything, I started feeling really ugly and fat. So my parents got a divorce, and I started spiraling out of control and just feeling really alone and not really happy where I was. And though I was making friends in school, I don't know, I didn't feel like I fit in. Probably because, we didn't have as much money as some of the other kids that we went to school, and I couldn't wear the same outfits. And again, going back to my body changing, I just felt like I couldn't fit in anything, and my boobs would spill out of stuff, and it was weird, and it made me feel fat. And I remember I was dancing at the time. I started dancing when I was 12, and I was on a competition team, and I loved it, and it really started becoming my life, and my best friends were dancing with me. But I never felt like I had a dance body. Something in my mind, even though the dance school that I went to didn't encourage weight loss, or didn't say that you have to be a certain height or weight, I really thought for some reason that that's what I was supposed to look like. I was supposed to be tall and skinny. And also my sister danced, and she was always taller than me and skinny and had like the dancer body and was a really good dancer. So I think that might have been one reason why I thought I had to look like that. So around that time that my parents got a divorce is when I started like binge eating. And then I eventually started making myself throw up because, you know, I felt like I had consumed too many calories. Like I would consume a whole carton of ice cream sometimes and then I'd throw it up. And I never liked throwing up. I just felt like that was the only option I had to get that out of my body. So I remember when I was 16, my dad remarried for like a year, and we moved in with her, and our relationship with her was pretty bad. So again, things just started going downhill, and my eating disorder got worse and worse and worse. And I remember being on the floor like bawling, and my dad being there not knowing what to do, just like, what's wrong with you? Why can't I make this better? What's wrong with you? And I remember begging him to like take me to counseling or something, that I needed help. Like that was probably my first time I really cried out for help at 16. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I need help. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I know what I'm doing is not healthy. And so he took me to counseling, and I did that for several years, but I don't know, I just never felt. I remember going to see a nutritionist and her telling me like I needed to eat this and that, and I'd be like, what, are you crazy? I can't eat that. I'm not going to eat that, you know. And just not, though I liked my counseling sessions and it did help me, but nothing seemed to be like really making a mark. And luckily it never got bad enough where I had to go to the hospital or anything, but it just was the feeling of just self-hatred and feeling really out of control and not being able to get past it and not knowing how to get these mean voices out of your head. My senior year, I wasn't popular at all. I just kind of would talk to everybody, and I also went to a really small school. But I remember sitting in like drama class or something, and it was homecoming season, and coming over the intercom, and they were saying names for homecoming court, and my name was on there, and I was like, what? I'm not popular. But why? And I thought it was a cruel joke, and so I went to the office and I was like, did you say my name? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you sure that that's me? And they're like, yeah, everybody voted for you, along with one of my best friends and one of my other friends. So it was really exciting, and it felt good, and I was like, it's so exciting, I'm not popular. And then so homecoming happened, and my best friend ended up being homecoming queen, and it just was a good night, and it was just a good memory. But then I remember one of the parents took pictures and was giving copies away to everyone on homecoming court. And when I got those pictures back, I was mortified. I was like, I am so fat. I'm so fat. And I was just, you know, a healthy, chunky 17-year-old. But in my eyes, I was like, no, there's no way, I can't. And that was like the first time I was in front of all of my peers. Like everybody saw me, and I was like, everybody's probably laughing at me, and they probably think that I'm a fat cow. And so literally like the next day I started like not eating. That's when I started going from just binging and purging to like binging and purging and skipping days of eating. And I started having like blackouts at school. One time when I was driving, I almost blacked out, and it was really scary, and I knew it wasn't right, but I was in that mode of just like, I was out of control, and I didn't know how to stop it, and that was the only way I thought I had control over everything. I had made the decision that I wanted to learn how to eat healthy and not like diet and not have to worry about anything anymore. But I needed help. So I decided that I had to give up dancing for a little bit. So I quit, and it was really hard for me because that was like my life, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. So I quit and I started college. And I remember going in on the first day and being like, I need to eat something. I'm falling asleep. I'm going to pass out. And I got like it was like an egg and cheese biscuit out of the cafeteria and ate it and felt amazing, and it was delicious. And so from then on, because of school and because I felt like I was in a happy place, I started eating more. Well, then I gained the freshman 15, and I was like, oh, just because I've been eating too much, and you know you can't do that. You can't eat like that. You can't eat that stuff. And so, and just looking back at pictures and again and being like, oh my God, I've gained so much weight. So things started like spiraling out of control again. And I, for years I just kept going back and forth. And I remember one time when I was 21, I lived in Tulsa for like a tiny bit, and I moved back, and I remember just still feeling out of control and crazy in a way. Just felt like, I had all these voices telling me I wasn't good enough, I wasn't pretty enough, and I was worthless. And that nonstop voice in my head, I wasn't sleeping ever. It wouldn't go away, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I was tired of being obsessed with all of it. So I remember just like throwing myself on the floor, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, take it away from me. And I think that just giving it up and taking that weight off my shoulders and just saying it out loud, like, I can't do it. And the next day I literally felt like a new person in a way. And it wasn't like, it just happened like that. It took, like, for years, all in my 20s, I still, like, up and down, and like depression and in and out of school, and like not knowing what I was doing with my life at all, and just like job after job. It was still hard, but in that time too, I also started like researching what is really healthy to eat. Why do we have to diet? Why does this diet work? Why does that diet work? Like, why? I wanted to know what was going on inside of the body and our minds, and why do we think that as women we have to be skinny, and why do we think we have to look a certain way? So I eventually found, when I was like 25, I found this one school, it's a nutrition health coach certification program, and I went through that and started feeling better and started eating healthier, feeling better about myself and eating healthier and feeling it like I was in a good place. When I was 25, I already knew him. It was someone I knew and I grew up with, but I started dating someone, and it was great because growing up I always like had it for him. I always had a crush on him, and this time it was like he kind of came after me. And so I started dating him, and it was great. And it was great because I was already close to his family and everything, and he already knew my family. He already knew me, and we like clicked really well. And I ended up getting pregnant about 2 years into the relationship, and we were actually broken up when I got pregnant. And so I was kind of freaking out about that, because I was like, oh, we're not together anymore. I don't really know what to do. And I told him, and he was cool about it. And he was like, we can work it out. It's fine. Don't worry about anything. And I really thought about it, and I was like, I'm ready to have a baby. I'm ready for this. I'm 26 years old. I'm ready for a baby. I think I can do this. And so I told him, I was like, whether you're in it or not, I'm going to have a baby, and this is what I'm doing. And so, of course, he was okay with it, and he asked me to come back. He wanted me back. And for the first 3 months, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then somewhere along the way in my pregnancy, we were like super close, so close. And it felt really good, and it felt like this was meant to be. We were supposed to have a little family together. And for the first time in my life, I felt really good in my body. A week before he was due, I started feeling excited and ready for him to come, but I had this weird feeling that I didn't want him to come out, that I wanted him to stay in there, and thinking, like, why would I think that? Like, I'm ready to meet him. Like, why would I say that? That's not a good thing to say. And then the next week I was on Skype with my sister because she couldn't be there. She was in Taiwan, and my water broke. And so my parents came and picked me up and took me to the hospital. And I remember on the ride there, and then when we got to the hospital, I had this really weird feeling. Like, it was kind of a scared feeling, but I wasn't really scared. It's so hard to explain. It just was a strange feeling, and it just felt so bizarre. And then, so when I went into labor, his heart rate was immediately low, below all the other babies' heart rates. But they gave me like an epidural and medication anyways, and I felt like rushed to do all of that. And I was like, I feel weird. Like, why are you rushing me to do this? Like, I haven't even felt labor pains yet. And his heart rate still was low the whole time. It just stayed in the same spot, kind of up and down. And I remember my mom and my boyfriend kept asking the nurse, like, what's the deal? Like, what do we need to do? His heart rate's low. And they're like, it's fine, it's fine. And so throughout the whole night, they kept asking, like, call the doctor. And the doctor says it's fine, it's normal range, everything's fine. And my doctor, I don't remember where my doctor was, but he wasn't there. So they were talking to the on-call doctor, and she was just like, it's okay, you guys need to quit freaking out. So all night it was like that. And I remember at some point I got really sick, and I was just throwing up all night and just felt really delirious. And I found out later that my heart rate got dangerously low, but they didn't have the monitor on. So they didn't know that, like, I was in trouble, hence putting my baby in trouble too. But I didn't find that until later. And then I remember when it came time to push, it was a horrible experience. Like, I didn't feel anything, of course, but I just was passing out, and they kept putting an oxygen mask on me, and then it kept making me sick. And I just remember just going in and out and just being like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what's going on. And I remember taking the mask off because it was making me sick, and they said, that's not for you, that's for your baby. And being like, okay. And I remember at some point the nurses switched, and it was a girl that I went to high school with. So when she came in, everything just got like calm, and she was like working with me because I pushed for like 3 hours. So then when he came, he was having trouble breathing, and I remember we both were really surprised, even though we knew his heart rate was low, and I think everybody in the room was surprised, because we trusted everybody and we thought everything was going to be okay. And I remember my boyfriend and I were just crying, and we were like, is he okay? Is he going to be okay? And the doctor was still working on me. And then the NICU nurse came in and said, we're going to take him to the NICU for a little while. He's okay. We've got him breathing. He's stable. You guys can see him in a little bit. And I just kept asking the doctor, I was like, is he okay? Is he okay? And she said, he's gonna be. And then just walked out and just left me and my boyfriend alone. And we were like, what just happened? What's going on? But we trusted them, and no one else came in. And then family started trickling in, and they're like, where's the baby? And we said, well, they had to take him, but they said they're gonna bring him back in a little bit. So we're just kind of like in this daze. And I don't think I felt anything at that point like I did when I first came in, because I was so drugged up and I was so tired. And seeing him come out, I was like, he's alive, he's there. And then I remember my doctor, who wasn't there the whole time, all of a sudden he was there, and he walked in with the NICU doctor and the NICU nurse. And the minute he walked in, I knew. And he said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "But he didn't make it." And he reached over to my boyfriend and he said, "I'm so sorry." And I said, "I'm sorry," because it's the only thing that we knew to say. And then after that, they kept us in the hospital. We didn't want to be there because they had to make sure that I would be okay after everything that happened. And it was horrible. They moved us out of the baby wing, and it was just awful. And he didn't want to be there at all, and he was so upset that he had to stay. And the next day we just went home, and all of our family was there. People were bringing us food, and I got on Facebook a lot of my old friends, and then also just a lot of people I didn't even know were so supportive, and it meant so much to me. They would write me and tell me their stories, but that didn't bring any comfort to me, hearing other people's stories, because it's like, oh, this is just something else that can happen the next time I have a baby. I was strong for a while, but as time goes on, people stop calling you, stop bringing you food, they forget about it. They forget that they don't forget it happened, but it's not there all the time as it was for me. And so that's when it really got lonely. It got really lonely. I just felt so alone. And my relationship with my boyfriend went downhill. We didn't really talk. And so I had to beg him to go to counseling with me, because I felt like I needed that. I felt like he needed that. Going through loss, like especially losing a child, that we weren't talking anymore. So finally he goes with me, and it came out there that he didn't want to be with me anymore, that he didn't love me, that he was only with me because he felt like it was the right thing to do. And I was so angry. I was like, no, that's not the right thing to do. I told you from the beginning that with or without you, I was going to have this baby, and you don't have to be a part of my life. You don't have to be with me. So it made me angry that I just felt lied to the whole time, and that felt like I was the only one in the relationship. And that crushed me. I felt like he had died. I felt like two people had died in my life. So after that happened, my sister was like, "Come to Chicago. Just come up here with me." And without hesitation, I was like, okay, I'm going. So I went and stayed with her and her husband. And at that point, I just hit rock bottom. I thought that my eating disorder was lonely. I thought that's what loneliness was. But I have just kind of lost all hope in people, and I felt like there was no justice. My advice for anyone who's lost a child or has gone through loss at all is to find a support group. I had a support group, like my family and everything, and it was really helpful, but I didn't reach out to the ones that were trying to reach out to me on Facebook that had gone through the same thing. And I think that would have been really helpful for me. And it's still something that I'm looking for now, is other people that have gone through it, because that was one thing that was really hard for me, was feeling alone and nobody understood. Not even my family, and I'd even get comments like, hearing from other people like, well, shouldn't she be over it by now? 2 years after losing him. And it's like, no, you're never over it. My family, has always been there for me, but there was just something about loss, and it's unfortunate, but there's something about loss that really brings family closer together. And especially my family, since they were so split apart in the divorce, it was really bad, and it really brought us together. And I'm thankful for that. life is so precious and it's short, and you need to live it and not be scared.